This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
This is Luca Perich, and you're listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
Recording has started. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to Super Connectivity. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser. And with me, as always, is the blue-eyed bomber from the burg of Pitts.
Phil and Perich.
There we go. From the diaphragm, Philip. From the diaphragm. I love you too, Tristan. Okay. He said he loved me. It's bedtime. Anyways, so be careful. Don't lose the remote. He wants to change the channel. He's probably going to put it on YouTube. Yes, I read his mind.
That's what the kids love.
The kids love the tube of the U.
Yeah.
So, okay. We're going to open up, because I know the fans love it, with crazy fan theory time here on Super Connectivity.
It's a Charlie Esser trademark.
Yes, well, I don't know if that's true, but let me just say this. Philip.
Yes?
Do you know much of the lore of the Duck family?
If I did...
Scrooge McDuck, Donald Duck, Della Duck, Huey, Dewey, and Louie Duck. Do you know who these people are?
Yeah. I was going to say, I watched a little bit of the new DuckTales. I was probably more versed in the old DuckTales, but it's been a few years, but yeah.
Well, it's interesting you should bring up the old DuckTales as well. And the overall history of the Duck family and the Duck family lore. Because as is the ongoing mystery, if there is one central mystery to the Ducks, it is who the father of Huey, Dewey, and Louie Duck are. Now, there is an image that people are aware of, if you're into the deep Disney lore, of a guy with a brush cut. Kind of looks kind of like a paramilitary kind of dude, really. Has a very interesting look among the Ducks. Kind of a broad-shouldered John Wayne-y type, if you will. And that is supposedly the father, who, through Della, of Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Now, this comes into an interesting thing, because we have not really discussed Huey, Dewey, and Louie's father this entire series of the reboot of the DuckTales. Now, for those who really want to go old school, they will say that apparently in Huey, Dewey, and Louie's first appearance, when they are sent to live with Donald, it is after their father has been injured, after a firecracker had been placed under their under his chair. Ostensibly, we are left to assume by Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Well.
But from that, we get this interesting idea of a tragedy befell Huey, Dewey, and Louie's mother, Della, in that her father, her husband, became injured. And that is why Huey, Dewey, and Louie came to live with Donald. So that is our framing device. That is our core lore, if you will. Della has children. The father becomes injured. They go to Donald. And that is the status quo that we get throughout all of Duck universes. Now, when we come to the new DuckTales, we have what seems to be a different story laid out before us, which is that Della has laid the eggs. The eggs are to be hatched. The father is not mentioned. And then, for some reason, just prior to the hatching of the eggs, she takes off in the spear of Selene to explore space alone. Now, I think we can all agree that if you were a new mother and an expectant mother, as much as going into space is something you wanted for your children, which is the ostensibly the reason why the Spear of Selene is being built, would you leave your children behind in that situation? Even if you thought it was just going to be a quick romp, would you take that risk? Would you steal the rocket a la Fantastic Four just to leave?
Do you think did she think danger was following her?
Well, I think she was dealing with the loss of someone she loved dearly, who was the boy's father, who was this mystery duck, because, Duck in the Duck universe is kind of like Smith. So you can have a Smith and a Smith be married and they're not really related.
Oh, yeah.
So that they all have the last name Duck should not be in and of itself problematic.
Yeah.
We have her leaving. And then if we think back to that original story of the father being injured, we have possibly another idea here where there was a grief within her decision to leave, that the person that she loved has been taken away from her. And she just needs to find a way to express herself for herself. And so stealing the rocket becomes that method, arguably. Now, the question becomes is what happened to the father? And I think we've gotten a hint of that in the recent episode. And it's not like an overt hint. It's just something where you realize when you look at it, it's like, oh my goodness, there's something more here than we are seeing, which is the recent episode 52 of DuckTales. Double O Duck, you only crash twice, which has as its central conceit the idea that Launchpad McQuack, after being hit by a intelligence ray, takes on this persona of Double O Duck and then becomes this super competent spy who, like Launchpad McQuack, despite, is always able to roll with whatever situation he falls into to come out ahead. And with his intellect, actually be able to protect Dewey, and who Launchpad has always had this close relationship with. And essentially sacrifice himself at the end to protect Duckburg as a whole when the stupid ray essentially is being unleashed. And as this happens, that persona, Agent Double O Duck, is shouting out to Launchpad to remember him, to remember what the threats are to the McDuck family from Fowl. And this is all written, kind of as, almost the Flowers for Algernon tale.
Mm-hmm.
Where, he gets the intelligence and he loses the intelligence. But as I thought about this, I got to question this idea. The character of Double O Duck comes out fully formed. Yes, there is a video game conceit called Double O Duck, but who he becomes does not seem to be Launchpad McQuack. Seems to be the Double O Duck persona that is being heralded in the video game. Additionally, the fact that the title of the episode is called You Only Crash Twice. Now, yes, this is a reference to the old James Bond film You Only Live Twice. But that double metaphor kind of presents itself as this idea that maybe there is something that has happened before. And we think about Double O Duck falling into the mind of Launchpad McQuack and shouting to be remembered. Shouting that there is something you must remember from this. Almost suggests that persona knew what to do. That he had been through this once before.
Are you going where I think you're going? Like I said, I haven't watched this, but could the Double O persona be the true him? And somewhere along the way, I don't know, he got the amnesia or whatever and became Launchpad McQuack?
Well, yeah, that's exactly where I'm going for.
Okay.
And the idea is that this Double O persona existed. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a couple different ways this can work, where who is almost a Moon Knight-y quality of the story of who is the real Launchpad McQuack. Is Launchpad McQuack the real persona who was at one point hit with the intelligence ray and created the Double O Duck persona? Because if we recall the gem at question, and unfortunately I couldn't look up the gem's name, the gem in question, its central power is to impart intelligence. And I believe it was taken from Scrooge's vault because, of course, the foul leaders are, in fact, the accountants of Scrooge McDuck. Which leads into our other theory that Duckworth was evil the whole time. Clearly a beagle, but his name is Duck, suggesting there's some shenanigans going on there. That they seized this stone from Scrooge McDuck, and this stone can impart great intelligence, which suggests that maybe Launchpad McQuack was imparted with great intelligence, became Double O Duck, and then in that time as Double O Duck, wooed Della, a fellow adventurer, and then had to sacrifice that intelligence for some reason, for the protection of everyone.
Or could you even go so far as could this thing take intelligence from someone who originally had it?
Well, yeah. Well, that's what the plot line of this episode is. Okay. Is that they're creating this device that can either impart intelligence or remove intelligence. So you could have. So there's two ways you can look at it. You can either look at it as Launchpad is the base persona. He gains intelligence, becomes Double O Duck for perhaps a prolonged period of time, in which his romance with Della occurs. They have the triplets. And then Launchpad must sacrifice that intelligence regardless of how he got it. And then when he becomes Launchpad again, he has no memory of his relationship with Della. He becomes like Wally when he gets reset. And he doesn't remember Eve. And we get that Eve gets to revive Wally, but what if Eve couldn't revive Wally? And what would be their relationship after? And this comes into this kind of central question with Launchpad McQuack. Launchpad McQuack is not good at his job, arguably. Although, inarguably, he's good at his job. it's a weird cartoony logic where the fact that he is the worst pilot in the world is irrelevant to the fact that he still can fly the plane. He still can make it go up and down and do what they need to. And that comes into the question of muscle memory.
I was going to say his basically his personality, his mind has been warped, but he has that muscle memory. Yeah,
exactly. He knows how to be a pilot. He doesn't know how he knows how to be a pilot. He doesn't know how he knows how to be an adventurer.
It's a reflex.
Everything about him suggests he should not be, but he is because he has this memory deep within him, which is why I think Double O Duck is the true persona, not Launchpad McQuack. But whatever happened, and he became Launchpad McQuack. And if he is Launchpad McQuack, there becomes this need not to lose him like he is so much D-Man. We can't all be as unfeeling as Captain America. When Double O Duck becomes Launchpad, there's a need for Scrooge, who is fiercely loyal and invested in his family, as we see after Della disappears, to protect the family he still has, of which Launchpad is now one of them. And in fact, it becomes this idea that Launchpad has this tragic accident, loses his intellect, becomes the Launchpad we know and quite frankly love, because despite the lack of intellect, he is still everything that is great about Double O Duck. He is still loyal and adventurous and caring to a fault for those things he loves. And this goes, I think, very strategically to his relationship with Dewey. Because his relationship with Dewey in the new series is so bonded, as much as you would imagine a father and son relationship should be. Now, of course, Launchpad says, well, it's because we're buds. But it's like, you can't, first off, you're an adult male and you have a 10-year-old child as your best bud. I don't think that's what your relationship is. I think your relationship is more a paternal relationship. And to that extent, Dewey's the only one that is willing to have a relationship with this, crazed simpleton who Uncle Scrooge keeps around for some reason.
So do you think is that like the whole point? It's like, even though he has this childlike mentality, at the core, he's still that agent, that capable hero.
Well, he is still that capable hero, and he's always been that capable hero.
Yeah.
But so in the original DuckTales, and this was sort of one of those things that bugged me about the reboot, is they took Launchpad from being a devil may care pilot who didn't mind that every plane he flew crashed because he could walk away from. As you always said, any crash you can walk away from is a good crash. Yeah. And it's like, that's not how that works, but okay. Because the phrase is, any landing you can walk away from is a good landing. He kind of took it to the extreme on that, but he still managed to do it. And in that sense, Launchpad was always a very capable character that when he becomes Double O Duck, when he becomes Darkwing Duck's sidekick in that alternate reality, we don't question it because we've never been made to question. We've never been sitting here thinking that Launchpad had been Flanderized because Flanderization wasn't a thing yet. It probably existed, but we really didn't see it as much in DuckTales. Now we come into Launchpad and he's pre-Flanderized.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an interesting point. So you say, okay, they made this choice, which did annoy fans, very upset fans, to make him a doofus. Yet they still show he can fly and he can do the things that he needs to do. Yeah. But it made him almost oblivious. And I like to think of this as almost like a blank slate. So, for example, there's an entire episode with the Typhoon. where he says, "Oh, I've been to the future. I've seen the end of all things. Yada yada yada. I've seen how we all die. Okay, see y'all in a few weeks." And then he just walks away because it doesn't leave a lasting impression on him, and he is able to see it and then move on. Which suggests again that there is a deeper intellect that can comprehend what's going on, but it's not allowed to make this impression. So I think eventually they're going to write a story where we're going to see what the Launchpad Della story is. And to be fair, there have not been a lot of Della Launchpad scenes since Della has returned. And I think that might be intentionally because if this is the truth, this is what they're trying to deal with. Della doesn't want to see Launchpad in this state because she knows who he was and she cares about him, but she knows, first off, and that's sort of one of those things, and I can imagine the scene if they ever do a backstory that fulfills this fan theory, there'll be that moment where Della is like, it's me, Della, and he's like, "Hi, Della, who are you?" And it's like everything's been wiped away. All of their history is gone. And it's like there's no way for her to bring him back to who he was, and he's not in the mental state to handle being a father, being a husband, being a lover. And so, that's what sends her off in the sphere of Selene, which keeps her separated from the family for such a long time because she has to get away. She has to fly away because she needs to. It makes sense in that context. And then Scrooge is obliged because this is a member of the team. This is a part of Team McDuck is Launchpad. And of course, when Donald leaves, Launchpad's the only one left. And he doesn't even know why he's left, but he's there. And so he keeps Launchpad around, has Launchpad be a part of his core, because if nothing else, he has to take care of Launchpad. Now, are we going to see Double O Duck again? Are we going to see this expansion of this relationship? I don't know. But right now, I think that in this DuckTales universe, and I think it's important to point out that this is this DuckTales universe, that is the story that they're building. And I feel sometime in the next 2 or 3 seasons, we're going to get a Launchpad who's going to be a merging of the Launchpad. It's almost like a Professor Hulk, where you're going to have that devil may care kind of easygoing Launchpad merging with the Double O Duck Launchpad to become essentially what Launchpad was in the original DuckTales series. So you're going to get that evolution as a character. And for what it's worth, that's the advantage of being a Disney property that can tell a story over, a decade or two. So if you want to get that story to where you want it to be, you can do so. Anyway, yeah, so that is my crazed fan theory on Launchpad McQuack and Double O Duck, and how they may be far more related than you folks at home ever imagined. What else was on my agenda this week, Philip?
Do we have time? We got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we got Stargirl, we got the Punisher logo conspiracy, controversy.
So, Philip, pick one of those 3. Which do you want to talk? Because I got a lot to say about Stargirl. I got a lot to say about Agents, but I do like the Punisher theory too, although I think that's a much shorter topic.
All right, do the Punisher first, and we'll see.
Okay, so Punisher first. So, obviously, the problem with... So, right now, there's this whole issue, and this is this thing about outrage culture. And I will say, there is an outrage culture. If you want to say there's no such thing as outrage culture, you're an idiot. People get outraged. A few loud voices make a big stink. And honestly, this is what caused things to get kicked off the air because people thought of children in the past. Now it's for more noble causes, but there is still an outrage culture out there. And the fact of the matter is that Disney is not vehemently suing police forces for people wearing death head patches. Death head is the symbol that Punisher has that predates the Punisher, and they're wearing it in homage to the Punisher, even though a lot of people who write about the Punisher, in fact, the guy who created the Punisher has made a express point of saying cops shouldn't wear Punisher logos. The whole point of the Punisher is that he's not a cop, to the point where it's kind of ridiculous to anyone else who's watching. And again, to show the prescience of Marvel, the fact that honestly, I almost am a little disappointed now. It's kind of this thing where it's like Ta-Nehisi Coates clearly anticipated this and decided, oh, you know what? Let's have Scourge, but instead of attacking supervillains, he's going to go after corrupt cops. And I think he probably pitched it as, you know what, we should have the Punisher go after corrupt cops who are abusing people. Because that's kind of right in his wheelhouse. And he said, oh, I don't know, man. Cops, people still think about cops as heroes. 9/11, never forget. They did things that I guess people think were heroic. And Ta-Nehisi Coates was like, yeah, you think so? Really? It's like, I think they gave him Scourge. I think right now Marvel is maybe kicking and said, man, we should have let him do it with Punisher. We should have let Punisher kill corrupt cops.
Well, there was an issue with that last Punisher series, when he's fighting with Zemo and stuff. What was that? Rosenberg wrote that. He had, there was a couple, I think he had the Punisher encounter some cops. I don't know if they were wearing the logo or whatever. He's like, no. Even the Punisher, he had the Punisher in the store would be like, no, that's, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, no, there's no reason, because essentially, as has been said, the whole point of the Punisher is he is the failure of cops. Although, arguably, that's sort of the reason they wear the logo, because, well, we won't fail. We'll kill the bad guys. Unfortunately, their view of who the bad guy is unfortunately not necessarily properly thing. Although I will say this, there are cops who use that logo who are of non-white groups. So, for example, there is a motorcycle club in Newark called the Thug Riders, who are all Newark PD, are all African American and Hispanic, who display the logo. So it actually gets a lot more complex than just, oh, you shouldn't be allowed to use the logo. But more to the point is that Marvel can't sue people about the logo because the logo isn't a logo.
It's basically just a skull, yeah.
Yeah, it is literally a death's head, which is a logo. If you look up a death's head moth, it actually exists on a death's head moth.
Yeah.
This logo has been around for centuries. In fact, the Nazis used it. Just in case you were wondering about what they were going for when they created the Punisher, this was a Nazi logo they were using. It's okay. It's okay.
But yeah, I found the panel where he's talking to the cops because he rips his logo off their cop car and he's ripping it into pieces. He says, "I'll say this once: we're not the same. You took an oath to uphold the law. You help people. I gave that up a long time ago. You don't do what I do. Nobody does. You boys need a role model. His name is Captain America. He'd be happy to have you."
Yeah, and there you go. And that is the truth of it. And although I certainly don't want, racist cops using Captain America logos either. It's like, but it is just that it is too simplistic of a logo. It is a logo that predates its trademarking with Marvel. And so what it comes down to is you can sue over an individual artist's rendition that Marvel owns. So Marvel owns lots of individual artist renditions of the Punisher logo.
Yeah.
But unless they are literally cutting and pasting it and not creating it themselves, you can't sue over it because it is a non-trademarkable image. And so, short of finding everyone who's using the logo illegally, it's a lot harder because it's not like you can just. It's like, so when Disney goes after people who paint the Lion King, so when they go after daycares that paint the Lion King or Pinocchio or other thing, there is enough similarities where they can say, no, that is the character intrinsic. You can't say that is in the character intrinsic if it is just its logo, and it is a logo that is non-copyrightable. So that's why Disney can't go after police officers using it. What they have done repeatedly is say in their media, this is not a symbol for cops to use. And at that point, that's all they can do, unfortunately. So, yeah, that's that.
They need to make it more stylized. That's why in DC they put the yellow oval behind the bat symbol, because they're like, you can't just like trademark just a picture of a bat, but you throw that yellow oval behind it. They're like, oh, trademark.
Well, exactly, and that is literally it. And what it is no one thought the Punisher was going to be a big deal.
No,
He's literally was like a one-off, crazy concept for a stupid villain who was supposed to fade away in the next couple of issues.
Yeah,
who knew he would take off?
Amazing Spider-Man 129. The Jackal tricked him in the attack in Spider-Man. Yeah,
it really was. And again, Punisher bad at his job. So at that level, you can say, maybe cops should work because, cops who are probably bad at their jobs. Like, I can see you're bad at your job. You're wearing the Punisher logo. So there we go. But yeah, that's just crazy. Stargirl, what was I going to say about Stargirl? Of all the powers to give, like to say, you should be the one character who, as far as I know, has no superpowers. So why don't you take the Wildcat uniform? And then it's magic now because reasons. And it fits you. So, okay. And then I guess they just decided that Wildcat had a bunch of powers now, which Wildcat doesn't have any powers. So they basically made Wildcat the Black Cat. And
again, I don't know if they just did that to explain, why this teenage girl can be almost on par with a former heavyweight boxer. And
I understand that, but they have a lantern cell battery. Yes, the lens is broken. I did see that. They made a point to show the lens was broken, but it's a lantern cell battery.
And I don't know if they have a ring either. So,
but the battery makes the rings. We learned this. It's like, in fact, I think the original ring was made from the lantern cell battery when the original Alan Scott finds it. Yes, he actually, I'll take a portion of the battery and I'll make it into a ring, and then I can shoot beams of power. And of course, although they do it well when they do take the Thunderbolt, and we see the Thunderbolt's waiting. It's like, no, you are not worthy of the Thunderbolt. Again, another fifth dimensional imp about to be unleashed on this universe. As we discuss Enfant Terribles throughout the Star Trek universe, and why Who Mourns for Adonis is the best one, because he learns his lesson. Yeah, so that's that. So that was Stargirl, and then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm hoping they don't just leave Coulson behind, because we don't see them pick up Coulson after he's taken to the medic, so although maybe that's how they're going to, I'm guessing the implication is they don't jump in the next episode. They're still in
I don't think
that era, and that's where we're going to reconnect with Enoch, because he'll be the specialist called in to deal with the Coulson bot.
I just thought he was going to reboot eventually, but yeah, I don't think they're jumping, because isn't Sousa in the next episode too?
Yeah, Sousa's in the next episode too, and it's like he was the one who figured out that Hydra was infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Yeah.
which actually suggests the interesting point is that what the Chronicons would do in the next episode is make sure that Sousa doesn't die. Because he's killed, and that's why Hydra isn't revealed. But if Hydra is revealed in the 1950s and they root out Hydra in the 1950s, then S.H.I.E.L.D's power base then gets to wane by the time the Chronicons go. So that's the thread they get to pull.
Mm-hmm.
As with all these things. And I actually think they're actually going to solve that by bringing Sousa in as a past regular, and Sousa is going to be a member of the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. going forth to the end of the season when they form the Time Variance Authority. So,
do you think he's going to jump with them?
Oh, I think so. I think that's the whole idea, is that, Sousa has to die, but it doesn't have to be the real Sousa.
Or he disappears and everyone assumes he's dead, maybe?
Anything's possible. Anything is possible. The idea that, and I think they're working with a closed loop time where I think things that they're doing are actually events that had already happened, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's a different way of approaching time travel, and arguably a different way of handling time travel if time travel were a real concept. And it's sort of the idea of when you're sailing and you sail into the wind,
mm-hmm.
which is a weird thing you can do, that somehow the wind's blowing against you, but you somehow manage to catch it just right. That still allows you to move sort of like catty corner towards your destination.
Yeah.
You have to let the sails swing way out, but you can do it. You can tack into the wind. So, I think what they're doing is they're tacking right now rather than, obviously trying to change something, because they want to continue on with where the flow of the time is going. So, it's interesting. I like it. You should be watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I do live tweet. I was able to stay up. I took a Monster Energy drink and a coffee in the morning. I had enough caffeine to keep me going until 10 p.m. And then I live tweeted it. So
nice.
But yeah, please do watch that. Okay, Philip.
Hey, one more thing. Do you want to talk? Because we didn't get to it on Capes. You want to talk Black Cat number 11?
Oh yeah, I thought we did talk her a little bit, but yeah, let's talk Black Cat 11.
We mentioned Tony Stark, but I don't think we really got into it.
Yeah, this is okay. So my favorite thing in this, and they've been doing this a bit, where they did this first with Iron Fist, the much maligned Iron Fist, where they showed, like, every time they do a punch, they would call it, the rising, the rising punch of Unduwat, whatever. Yeah. And then we get that, and then they did it again with Doctor Strange, where they'd say it. And this time, within our guys, they don't have like the little things, but they have Doc saying, like, what's Stark's weakness? The women, the 17 stepbrothers, and then immediately one of the ones like, yes, but where are we going to get a badger? Which I love. It's just like there's these like these standard cons that all these guys know that they're pulling with ridiculous names that all need one unique item that they can't get, and and then we call this one, the one they settle on is the Despinian Ambassador, which I love as a phrase, and for what it's worth, immediately encapsulates what they're doing, which is the way that you really antagonize a smart guy is you disagree with him.
Oh yeah,
and that's the whole thing, and it's brilliant. And we have a nice little bit about her having to put on a red wig and just being mad about redheads.
She's like, what? She's like, what is with these guys and redheads?
Yeah, well, not for nothing. They suck. She is the anti-Lilith. She does not like the gingers. And again, speaking of, fighting in your street clothes. I think Black Cat in the lab coat. And for what it's worth, it's like, actually, that was just like a tuxedo jacket. I didn't, because like she gets it from Stark's closet. I never think about Tony Stark wearing a lab coat. So I just thought it was a white tuxedo jacket that she just threw on as she ran out. But I guess it's meant to be a lab coat.
I mean, yeah, she just took a jacket to make it look like a lab coat, maybe. I don't know.
But she runs into, and then this I don't like is apparently her Black Cat powers are now tech based. Some kind of a probability generator. She essentially has the heart of gold inside of her subdural cranium.
Oh yeah.
So that's weird. Then we get the Nano Forge, and it builds things. And this is weird. It's like it takes much longer to build a resonance key than her own Iron Cat armor. Which I guess maybe it's because Iron Cat armor it's already in stock. They know there's not a lot of things you have to do. You just have to add the parts. So
yeah, there might have been a suit already halfway built. You just had to customize it.
Just customized it to be cat-like, cat themed. So no, I love the Black Cat. It was on my pull list, and I was very happy to know it was there because I don't know what's coming out week to week. So
yeah,
that was good. That was Black Cat.
I mean, it's not always 100% accurate these days, but if you go to Diamond's website, I think it's diamondcomics.com, they usually can check that week to see what's coming out.
Yeah. Well, usually my guy posts it on Facebook, but if I can't find where he posted it, it's like, that's a whole thing now. But anyway, yeah. Oh, just a third thing I want to say about the Snyder Cut is I realized last night that was Snyder's third bite at the apple.
Yeah.
I know people want to say, oh, well, that's because Nolan influenced the first and Whedon influenced the last. It's like, yeah, but it was still his third bite of the apple. And who was the person in charge of Batman v Superman? Because really, that was him. That was all him. And that was all of that. So, yeah, I'm going to say, why do we care? But no one cares that I say, why do we care? Because no one cares.
I care. I mean, but who wants like 6 hours to clean up that movie? It's like, come on.
But
let it go.
It's like,
just Josh Trank it. Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah, really. I mean, honestly, we don't need to see all the things. One thing I did want to talk about is they do reference the 3 Jokers again, kind of, in the Joker thing. And it's the one where it's like Batman, like at the last page is Batman is like the Medusa Joker kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to get, they do, and I love that they do give Jared Leto's Joker a shout out in that. So,
I mean,
I like that. I like when they don't forget about Jared.
I think you were asking. I did see something today. I think they said 3 Jokers and even the upcoming Batman Catwoman series, they're both not going to be in continuity.
Oh, well, that's just. Why? Why?
Because they 3 Jokers. They started it at the end of New 52. I mean, again, literally, it's been at least 4 years since they started teasing this thing. So it's like,
but okay, I don't know.
I mean,
has the entire universe rebooted since then?
I mean, we went from New 52 to Rebirth, and now I think they've been.
See, this is why I don't. Look, Marvel did it once.
Yeah.
And we're still not happy that they did it at Marvel, but they did it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. DC does it every couple years, and they used to, they have these Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they would, at least admit to it. Now they reboot, and they don't even admit it. They're like, oh no, this thing isn't a reboot.
Yeah, you can't reintroduce characters we already know.
Yeah.
I mean, you can retcon them, but you can't just reintroduce it. And I don't know.
I mean, yeah, Rebirth, they were kind of trying to do the classic and New 52 combo. And I think slowly but surely they're kind of moving further and further away from New 52 stuff. So
I get the feeling DC is thinking continuity, new continuity, who dis? And
yeah,
it's just the idea that nothing has to be in continuity. Nothing should ever be in continuity.
Oh yeah, especially DC. But that's what Lilith said. She says modern comics. She's like, they don't want continuity.
Well, but the thing is that here's the thing. I think that Marvel doesn't forget about the things they've said. They may squeeze it and twist it and make it fit into the hole.
Oh yeah.
But if it existed, it existed.
It's just like sliding.
So Franklin Richards, Valeria Richards, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
They may kill them at some point. They may erase them from existence, but it will be an official erasure with a before and an after time, like a Superboy Prime, where we'll know what happened and it'll be this is what happened. And with Franklin rebuilding the universe, that's the same kind of concept. It's like Franklin rebuilt the universe. He did it poorly. He's 14. What do you want from the poor kid? Yeah. But anyway, so that's that.
Yeah.
I got not too much more to say about this.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Because supposedly it's coming soon. Because Tyler even texted me today. Here, let me pull this up because they're already. You could pre-order the trade paperback and hardcover, and it's supposed to be out in November. And I was like, wait, when is 3 Jokers coming out? Supposedly, the 3 issues of 3 Jokers is going to be August, September, and October.
Yeah, and it's a prestige format, and I'm debating getting it. I'm like very torn. And now you say it's not continuity.
But what always happens though. You know what happens though? If something in that series gets like so popular and everyone's like, oh, I love that. Guess what? It's going to be because guess what? Killing Joke when it first came out, it was supposed to be not in continuity either. And they made that continuity.
Didn't they paralyze Barbara Gordon after that though?
Yeah.
Was she still Batgirling for a while, or was it like?
Well, no.
Was this a Black Costume Secret Wars thing? I mean,
they did paralyze Barbara Gordon, but then I don't think they mentioned her for a while, and then eventually I think she first popped back up in Suicide Squad. But it's like as the Oracle, but it's like I mean, for the most part, it wasn't supposed to be in continuity. But then,
but if they paralyzed Barbara Gordon, then that's in continuity.
Yeah, but I'm just saying they never addressed it. They never said, "Oh yeah, she's been paralyzed." But eventually, a few years down the road, that's what I'm saying. It was so popular, it wasn't supposed to be in continuity. But then eventually, they were just
what they did is they CYA'd.
Yeah,
they said, you know what? Don't talk about Barbara for a bit.
Oh,
because you know what? Who wrote those books?
Alan Moore.
Alan Moore, thank you. Alan Moore.
Your arch nemesis.
No, he's not my arch nemesis. I have no arch nemesis.
Well, it was like a weird time at DC too, because it was like 2 years after Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they were like, get rid of Supergirl, Batgirl,
Yeah, and it is what it is. But that's the thing. So Alan Moore wrote that. He was a very popular writer. He's coming off of I think that was when he was coming off of Watchmen, wasn't it? That's post-Watchmen.
Watchmen was like...
Yeah, because he made his bones on Swamp Thing. He did Watchmen. He got to do The Killing Joke. And I think that they went into that thinking, you know what? We trust Alan Moore. We're not going to say it's continuity right now, but we're not going to undo it immediately.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to say this didn't happen. And so I think that's how you handle that kind of concept. But to say, oh, this is not going to be in continuity, just so you know, so don't even bother picking it up, is kind of a stupid way to sell a comic book.
I don't know if they came out and said it, but if people asked them, they're like, oh, yeah, it's not continuity. But then as writers kept taking more elements from that story for other stories, they were just like, oh, hey, man, the kids seem to like this. So, hey, yeah, it's continuity. I mean, the original, what is it, Batman Son of the Demon, where, that's the one where Talia and Batman, conceived Damian. That wasn't in continuity either until Grant Morrison brought a 10-year-old Damian into the story.
But in that case, it's See, and that's where you get into that differentiation. So you can do something in a non-continuity story.
Yeah.
That you then evolve into an in-continuity story, because the actual story between Damian and Batman is different than it is in Son of the Demon.
Well, yeah.
That's the thing. It's like they said, okay, so we like this character, we like this idea. That's a non-continuity story. How do we bring it into continuity?
Well, that was like that original story was late 80s, and again, they only showed like a baby on the last page or something. But then, 2006, Grant Morrison's like, oh, okay, here's a 10-year-old Damien who's been raised by Talia and the Assassins for the last 10 years.
Yeah, so it's an interesting idea, and anything is possible. But I don't like them saying it's not continuity from the start, because it just first off, it shoots yourself in the foot if you ever want to make it continuity.
I just think
why talk so much?
I think
if your name isn't Ruffalo, you don't need to just say everything that happens in the project you're working on.
But do you think that's like a standard boilerplate anymore these days, though? Because if it's not in like the monthly books, they're like, oh yeah, it's not in continuity, just because if someone's reading the story, they're like, well, hey, the Joker never did this, or hey, something off about someone.
This may shock you, Philip, but comic books aren't legal documents.
Yeah.
They don't require boilerplate.
Well, I'm sorry, I probably used the wrong term, but I'm just saying.
No, that is the right term. That's what you mean to say, and it's being used as boilerplate. Boilerplate is just standardized legalese that is sort of essentially pre-printed. Essentially, the way you would print something on a boiler that was, uniform for all the boilers. I don't even know if that's the origin of it, but anyway.
Maybe standard operating procedure these days. It's like,
but it shouldn't be. And when you say standard, that implies that other people do it.
But they went there. Well, for DC, it's standard operating procedure these days. I think it's like,
yes, and that's what we're criticizing. We're saying that's a bad thing to do.
It's a 3-issue miniseries. Let's say it's non-continuity, but if the kids really love it, we can add it to continuity.
But shouldn't you just leave that open, because no one has to assume? So, as an example,
Charlie, it's DC, the king of great decisions these days. Come on.
I'm just saying they don't have to shoot themselves in the foot. Just because they're bad at their jobs doesn't mean they have to shoot themselves in the foot.
And again, I don't know if they're scared, because literally they've been working on this for at least 4 years.
Which is a whole other bag of hammers, because you would think you would know what you were doing with it before you drop it. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it was an idea that someone pitched at a party and someone liked, and then they published it and they said, oh, wait, we didn't. I mean, who knows? Like, how does someone pitch something and accept it and then say, oh, no, we can't do that anymore? Lilith right. We should, if I ever win, $1 billion, which I won't, because lotteries don't even get that far, and we can buy DC Comics, we should probably just do it for the good of humanity. But honestly, I don't even think it's worth. I don't even think it's worth the purchase.
Come on, DC, just hire us as a civilian review board. Come on, we'll tell you what's good. What's a good idea and what's a stupid idea.
Hey, here's what I'll say. I work cheap, so you can hire me as a person who will say, I don't think that's a good idea, which is what I do in HR every day for human beings. But I can do that for fictional beings too. I can say, this is not a good thing for us to do. So in HR, your job is to tell management, this is not a good idea for us to do. We should not do this thing. And then they ignore you, which is fine, but it's on record that someone said, this is not a good idea.
And again, I mean, all they got to do is pay a couple bucks, and it's like you give them your opinion. They don't have to follow it, but it's like, hey, maybe you should listen and say, hey, why don't you tweak this a little bit?
Unfortunately, they moved out of the New York area. Like when they were still in New York, it would be an easy commute for me. Not going to relocate the whole family to California. So
again, a lot of people are working from home. There's not telephones. There's not email. The email.
Well, yeah. I mean, they can just let me know what's going on. And honestly, I can keep a secret. Trust me.
Say, hey, we emailed you a memo. Read it. Tell Tell us what you
say,
think.
hey, what do you think of this? And I'll say, this is not a good idea. Or I'll just say, you know what? It's a good idea. Don't say it's not in continuity because you might want to use it later. That sounds like something that it could be interesting. If it's an imaginary story, no one cares that it was an imaginary story.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like no one cares that what you're saying that Batman wasn't a pirate in the 1800s.
Well, that's the other thing too, because I think that was the other point in the article. They're like, we're about to gear up for the big Joker war that's going to go through every Bat book right now. So it's like, I don't know if something in Three Jokers was going to contradict something in Joker War. So,
but then
you got 20 Joker projects going on. Once that movie hit, they're like, Joker.
And yet they make fun of that entire idea.
Oh yeah.
In our last story.
Maybe that's meta.
Well, yeah, except they published it.
I know.
You don't have to publish your own self-criticism.
Or maybe that's the writer poking at DC. I don't know.
Well, except that DC was go ahead. Just say I'm an idiot. Just write that down. I am an idiot. I like when you make the smell lines above me, too. Draw those in.
Maybe the editor was asleep that day. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Wouldn't it happen on Denny O'Neill's watch? That's what I'm saying.
Right. That's right. Okay. Rest in peace, Denny O'Neill.
Yes, for our homies.
Or why not for my
Okay, Philip. Let's head on out of here.
All right. Would you like me to do my plugs first?
Well, no. You know what we got to do? We got to talk about our fine sponsors here at the Southgate Media Group Network, including Tweak Audio, which if you're not listening to this podcast on a Tweaked Audio headset, I have to ask why? Why in God's green earth are you listening to this podcast on substandard equipment when Tweaked Audio is right there, efficient and affordable, exactly as you need?
Hear the dulcet tones of Charlie Esser in HD sound. Come on.
You hope for the you can guide people to the best possible products. But if they choose, they choose. And I do understand, not everyone is willing to make the choice. But I'm saying it's Tweaked Audio.
Do you love your ears? Come on.
Yeah. But anyway, moving on from there, let's talk about content. And content is king, as they say. And, we all want more content in this day and age.
Oh, yeah.
And, one thing I'd like to do is, it's not always easy to always have, little buzzing earbuds in my ears. I want other ways to entertain myself. And to that extent, there's things like Hunt a Killer.
Yes.
Where you can go to Hunt a Killer. You can sign up for Hunt a Killer. You can pay them money and they will send you amazing, interesting, complex puzzles to stimulate your brain, to make you look at all of the clues and facts in a story, to try to unearth who and what and why the crime is. The why of the crime is always the hardest. The who and what you pretty much get right away, but that why, it's like, why is this happening? Why are we dealing with this? What is going on? That is the complexity that you get to unravel in a great service like Hunt the Killer. And of course, anything that you're interested in, regardless of what it is, you can go down to our notes down here and find an Amazon link, because as we all know, Amazon is the site where you can go to anywhere, because like the great Amazon River that you can sail or flow down and gather all the great riches of the continent, you can go to Amazon through our link and purchase just about anything you want. And, because you came to it from us, you actually get a little advantage for us. Costs you nothing, advantages us. So, why not click there first? What's the harm? One more step for you, costs you nothing, advantages us. And let's see. Oh, hey, there's a book out there called Pod Life the Book, which is a great tome of human stories about this wild world of podcasting. You like podcasting, you're listening to podcasts. If you want to know what it is on the other side of the mic, on the other side of those tweaked audio headsets that you're listening to this on, pick up Pod Life the Book and see what makes us tick. You might enjoy it. Anyway, in the meantime, Philip, if someone wanted to reach out to you, talk to you about the convoluted nature of comic book continuity and DC specifically, and the universes in writ large, how can they find you?
Well, the easiest way is to get a hold of me through the Capes and Lunatics email, capesandlunatics@gmail.com, or the voicemail, 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. Or, hey, just follow us nice and easy on Facebook, Twitter. You can follow Capes and Lunatics and Super Connectivity. Both have their own Facebook page and Twitter accounts.
And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way our Moz and Boz once did at superconnect. Yes, it's superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. Tristan, let me do my own plugs, Tristan. I don't even know if they can hear you. And, of course, follow me on the Twitters at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Maz. And hey, I did stay up for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this week. Tune in next week, see if I can do it again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Super Connectivity on the Capes and Lunatics Network as part of the greater Southgate Media conglomerate, right up there with Disney and AT&T. Thank you for connecting with us this week. Please super connect with us again next. Good night.
Good night. Robert Southgate, power broker.
Robert, we gotta buy him the robe.
Oh, Father's Day. We should chip in and get him a Father's Day gift. Say, happy birthday, Southgate Dad.
He is the father of
Podcast
Southgate
father.
Media.
Yes.
Okay, we need to click on our Amazon link and look for forest green terry cloth bathrobes with hoods. Do we know his size?